Nice to meet you guys. Thank you for coming for this presentation. My name is Károly Varsányi, doctor. I'm an attorney at law and a member of Budapest Bar Association. You can find on the slides for the legal perspectives my personal site. You can see on the slides drvarsanyi.hu, and for the crypto and the blockchain issues or purposes it's digitalcash.hu. And in the introduction of from Steve, there was a serious exaggeration. I'm not a world famous Hungarian blockchain lawyer. I'm just the guy who interested in deeply in the crypto space or the blockchain material. So let me reflect to the question came from the audience, that is it possible to sell a property, let me call a house or a flat or any other kind of properties, as an NFT. The main question is with that what we always forget, that we are much more advanced and in privileged situation in comparison to the rest of the world. So the main question is that technically it's possible, definitely you can sell or buy land or a property as an NFT, but regarding with this topic is the main question is the value proposition, and the question for the rest of the world is that we need to find a ledger or a register system which is reliable, safe and accessible for the mass of the population, for the society. And what we forget, that the value proposition for the society right now is much bigger on the side of the states, because in the world there are so many illiterate person or people, analphabetic people, not speaking in digital terms, but speaking literally, I mean illiterate people. So just guess or just imagine the situation that the state offers a solution for the land registry which is much more accessible for the mass of the society. Because if a person is not did that before with this digitalization and don't know too much about how to handle NFTs or blockchains or cryptocurrencies, it could be an advanced solution, but it's not accessible for everybody. So that's for the question coming from the audience. And one more thing, in Hungary from 2023, the solution coming from the state is that called registration law, that puts some liabilities on the attorneys, and we're gonna be able to make alteration in the land registry. So it's not the ledger, it's not the deity, but the lawyers or the attorneys from 2023. I'd like to start my presentation with some theoretical issues, because I'm a theoretical guy, not the guy who is in the practice as Dave. So I citing the name of Nick Szabo, who studied the society a long time ago, and he found three cornerstones about that must have in every society. I don't know, guys, do you know these three cornerstones? Because it's famous, that's the reason why I ask. So the guy was everybody knows, a famous programmer, but he studied the society and he found the three cornerstone must have in every society is money, contract and property. Without that cornerstones we've been wrecked, so it's impossible to work or exist properly in a society. All right. So it's really hard to transform from the analog system to a digital system, these three, because law system is one system based on the analog or real life long time ago, and we've got experience with real life issues, but not with the digital world. And as I mentioned before, rest of the population is unable to write or read the code, so therefore there is a serious disadvantages for this one. The issue about the NFTs, it's a question, what's an NFT? There is a famous saying on the internet that imagine that you've got a wife and you've got wife get laid by everybody except you, and you can't do nothing with it at all. But you've still got the marriage certificate that you've got a wife. That's an NFT, as a famous saying citing from the internet. The NFT represents a unique item, a digital representation of let me call real life item or asset. It's a digital record of the ownership stored on the blockchain, but the NFT is not the digital asset itself. So it represents a unique item, e.g. image and audio and video, animation, or any other kind of item. And literally speaking, it's an extremely small digital record, often contains a URL or a serial number and tagged onto the blockchain. That's an NFT by a technical definition. Once the token is logged, why I'm saying what's the novelty, what's the novum about the NFTs. The novelty or the novum about the NFTs is that they try to avoid any intermediary or middleman, as the blockchain itself did it, so we don't need any more intermediary. But it's important to mention that the NFT is just the ownership and the authentication for using that item, but not the digital item. So having the ownership, you can prove about a specific item that belongs to you and you've got the right to use it, but it's not the specific item. What does it? It's you can imagine this one like title deeds in the land registry. If you think about the title deeds in the land registry, title deeds doesn't mean that you've got the house or the flat or what and any other kind of property, but you've got the record that that house or flat or property belongs to you. It's a kind of certificate of authentication. So that's the keyword for this one, certificate of authentication. You can find in the art world really often. So as a certificate of authentication, what does it contain? First of all, the artist name. Definitely, it's really important. Second of all, the title of the artist. Third one, let me say the medium. The year of the completion, the fourth one. The edition number, the special instructions, and the artwork itself. Sorry guys, I keep the right to sometimes just read my sheets because I'm old-fashioned. So, picturally speaking, we can see that NFT looks like this. It's nothing else, just codes at the end of the day. So you can find the numbers. NFT looks like, technically speaking, something like this. As I mentioned before, the novelty of the NFTs, now everybody can sell or buy a property, a digital property, without an intermediary or a middleman, and there is not a limitation to anticipate any third-party platforms. Famous NFTs, I think you know much better than me. you see on the left hand side of the slides, Beeple, the 5,000 days, or what's the name of that famous? For me, it's not that famous, but definitely anybody else is famous. So it's first 5,000 days, something like this. The second page is the so famous Bored Ape Yacht Club. Is in the news right now, nowadays, purchasing by some celebrities. And the third one is Jack Dorsey tweet. The first tweet on the Twitter saw something like 2.9 million. I don't remember exactly. If you get back in time, not too much, just recently, and you like that kind of music, probably you heard about the Snoop Dogg, the hip-hop artist, is right now, he's teamed up with Clay Nation and generate clay figures as an NFT on the Cardano blockchain. So that's probably the newest example about the famous NFTs. What kind of legal problems can we face when we're talking about NFTs? So the first one is copyrights and related rights problems. The second, the ownership issues. Who is the creator? Third one, civil and criminal law problems. Fourth, tax evasion and money laundering problems. And last one, lack of regulation problem. Actually, it's a really hard problem. To be honest with you, I checked the directive in the EU because I'm familiar with the continental law, especially the Hungarian law. So I tried to find the exact word NFT in the EU direction. Let me say into the digital property rights direction, and the other is the so-called MICA, which is the market. About the crypto markets, how we call MICA, and I haven't found any exact word about the NFTs. So it's really hard to ask to speak about from a lawyer about the issue which is not defined in the legal material. So it's a really as a point of mine, it's a really big problem. Another example of a possible problem, probably you heard before, Soleimani is a Liverpool-based art collector, just bought the artist mentioned before, Beeple artwork called Abundance NFT. You can find a picture on the right hand side, and there was a misunderstanding or a misuse, I don't know, is a bad or goodwill, but the main thing is that he tried to bid for the original copy of the artwork, and finally the co-founder of the Ethereum got the winner bid, I think $1.2 million for the artwork, and Soleimani was just the third highest bidder in this live auction. And what happened? The auction being placed at Nifty Gateway, that's the company name, and they asked the $6,500 from Soleimani to pay for the second copy of the artwork, but Soleimani denied the request. Instead of paying, he just claimed that the auction terms were unclear for himself, and he wanted to bid the original Abundance artwork, not the second edition, because the second edition definitely does not have the same value, and filed litigation in the US, or sue Nifty Gateway in the US and the UK High Court. Meanwhile, Nifty Gateway response was freeze his NFTs because the lack of the payment. So that could be caused serious financial problems if you're bidding something what you think that you are in the known, and later on it just released that it wasn't your intention, you bid for something else. Copyright is a really boring territory of the law, but it's a special field of the law dedicated to the protection to the intellectual works. And I'd like to explain here that intellectual property is similar. In the continental law system we call it intellectual property, but as far as I know, in the Anglo-Saxon system they called much more easier copyright. So when I'm speaking about copyright or intellectual property, it's vice versa, is the same thing what I'm talking about. So copyright is intellectual works on the literary, scientific, artistic work, especially drawing, painting, sculpture, engraving, design, and whatsoever. Simplify the definition, the copyright is a protection for the creator. That's the person who created the artwork. So copyright for the creator, and the related rights is for the performer. It's significant because in the continental law system, the author, the creator of the artwork, is much more protected by the law in comparison in the Anglo-Saxon system, where the performer is the preferenced one. So if you write a song, you've got better protection here in the EU, sorry, against the performer than in the States. Important thing to mention that the protection is automatically created when the work is done, so when the artwork created. So it's no need any registration, no need any claim. It's an automatical thing. And another important thing to mention, sorry, that there is not an unlimited period of time for this protection. In the Hungarian law, there is a main rule, 70 years after the author or the creator death. So that's what you've got to use your successor to try to get benefit from the artwork. Related rights, as I mentioned before, is the adjacent or similar to copyright, but prefer the performers. Let me say radio, television organization, and in the EU the filmmaker, film producer. So protection for the performer, that's for the related rights. All right. I think it's done and dusted. Yes, I told this one. So I skip. All right, what does copyright give us? Two kinds of rights, what we can mention regarding the copyrights. The first one is the personal rights of the author. The second one is the property rights or copyrights of the author. The personal rights is packed to the author, like publication of the artwork, indication, definitely the name of the creator, and protection of the unity of the work. That belongs to the personality, because there is no thing regarding with the consuming. Under copyright protection, the author got the exclusive right to make any use of the work in whole or part. So the creator can decide that give a permission to using for the usage of the artwork in whole or in part. And the main elements you can see on the slides: copy, distribute, modify, publicly perform, and publicly display the work. All the tricky things will come when we arrived at the money issues. So when the commercial consumption question popped in, it's always a problem, because if somebody is paying for the usage of the artwork, any kind of usage, most of the time they are doing this because they are in the hope making money from it. General rule is that the personal rights of the author may not be transferred. So if I create these sheets, let me say, this fantastic example, I'm not able to say that somebody else, for example, Dave, created these sheets, because I was the creator of the sheets. Property rights, it's a different kind of material. It's maybe inherited and maybe disposed of in the event of death. All right. The main problem, what we have to understand regarding the NFTs, that the ownership, the strictly speaking ownership, and the copyright are not the same, because the possession and the copyright is different. They are separated from each other. If you own something, you've got the rights to use personally or commercial, the right of exploitation, the right of fertilize, take advantage of the artwork, the right of transformation, alienation, the right of destruction, definitely you can dispose it, the right of encumbrance, let me say mortgage, and the right of relinquish the property. And everyday, if something is an object of everyday usage, is not a big deal, because as Dave told, it could be replaced by another item. These sheets can be, if I print another copy, can be replaced with that copies. But if you own something with artistic unique value, you've got in front of the law an additional rights, because of the item without an artistic value is not the same in the view from the legal perspective and an everyday object of the use. So the main question is always that personal commercial use, and here it is when the money comes. Simplify the question. Commercial use is sell to the audience and have a financial benefit from it, and the personal use and the different things. If I buy a picture, I'm able to hang on the wall and just see and feel myself amazed, but that's it. If I'm buying for commercial use, that's a different case, and these two are not mixed to each other, especially because of the artist most of the time create the artwork for the public, and they are hope that they're gonna receive some benefit from it. The benefits, how we call in the legal terms, royalty. Example for the misunderstanding this one, SpaceDAO bought a copy of the pitch book of director, I don't know pronounce bad or good, Alejandro Jodorowsky, made for the famous Frank Herbert artwork, Dune. And they bought the pitch book, and they imagined or hoped that with the buying of the book would allow them that bring interpretation of Jodorowsky vision to the screen. But in reality it failed, because the owners of the original Dune copyrights vetoed the idea. So at the end of the day, it doesn't come with along with the property right. They just bought the copy of the pitch book, but not the copyrights. And any NFT purchaser may assume that he or she purchased the copyrights related to the NFT, but in reality the creator or somebody else who entitled to deal with it, keep himself or herself the exclusive right to copy, distribute, modify, publicly perform, or publicly display the work. So that's a big misunderstanding, that the item doesn't come along with the copyrights. So be careful with that. NFT and ownership, it's a tricky question, because simplify the question, who is eligible or entitled for the so-called royalties, the creator or the performer? Sometimes it's not an easy question to answer, because let me say an example. On the picture you can find a Hungarian meme about how the Pain Harold, who is famous in Hungary, I guess. So the example is about, let me say, in 20 years ago, in the schoolyard, the school board, the school hired a photographer, and that photographer just took a picture in that time. Later on, 20 years later, I put it on the internet, and someone made a meme out of it, and that meme became successful for some reason. God knows why. The question arrives immediately that who will be eligible for the royalties? There are a couple of options what we've got here. First of all, the school, because they hired the photographer. The second one, the photographer, because the photographer took the picture. Or the person who shared the picture by the internet and made from the picture a meme. Or the person who made and used the meme and tokenized and made an NFT from it. Who is the, let's guess what was the law says, who is the, let me say, rightful owner or the entitled for the royalties? Photographer? Yeah, that's true, definitely true.
This photo is a stock photo, so I would guess the platform where they sold.
There is a logic behind what I will say. The main composer, exactly, the main composer. Because if you think commercially, money speaking, who gave more value to the picture? Who made it popular? Because the picture worth in a circle less value than later on when it made public on the internet. So according to the established practice, whoever made the meme will be eligible for the royalties. It doesn't mean that he got everything, I mean 100%, but most of the part of the royalties entitled to him or her. The legal question, what we have to examine in this case, I mentioned before, which version of the work of the art or the artwork became popular? The simple photo, let me say the first photo, or the main version? Definitely the main version. Did it generate revenue, the simple or the original photo? Not really, not much, but the main could do. And the further alteration of the original photo increased the amount of the revenue. Yes, big yes, because it was so popular, everybody wanted to pay for this, so the main composer is the winner. Surprisingly. All right. That's sorry for that, guys, but I have to cite from the Hungarian codes, civil and criminal codes, because that's our topic, so we can't avoid this one. There are two main types of crimes, how we call delictum, related to the intellectual property law. The first one is the protected value is the intellectual property law, or from the other point of view, the subject of the attack is the intellectual property law. Examples you can find in the Hungarian Civil Code 2012, section 300 85, the infringement of the copyright and or related rights. Sorry for that. The section 86, circumvention of technical measure providing protection for the copyrights, and section 387, the falsification of rights management data and information. And guess what's the penalty for this one? I mean the most serious penalty for this one. Both of them. In sentence in a prison for up to 5 years. So it's not I'm not saying this the court gonna start with this, definitely not. But if you got revenue or money from the infringement so much, and you did it time by time so often, and probably they try to stop you, but you just neglect the polite question of the creator, that it's all on you. So the court gonna say like, all right, it's in prison. Example for the hurting of the criminal code is like copy the NFT or put to the marketplace without the creator permission.
Use your K-Orban as a profile picture? Or
no, the main question is that if it's a use, as I mentioned before, if for a personal, if the what
NFT as my Twitter profile.
Yeah, you can, if until that point you haven't got money from that, it's the law says like, all right, it's like misuse or something like this. It's not really, but when we start to the point when you've got serious revenue from it, they're gonna go after you and punish you properly.
So non-commercial.
Kind of fine, let me say. So if you don't have to worry if you just save a NFT image and use your profile picture. There is no worry about the future sanctions. But if you try to business based on this picture and you've got serious revenue, at least you have to face from the polite asking of the creator that give me my share from your revenue. And that's what I will explain later.
So
yes.
Similar to downloading torrent movies. So
Exactly the same. Yes, that's a good. Yes, a good.
If you share on a public platform.
It's similar. It's let me say the example for saying dealing with drugs. It's different matter in front of the law if you puff on using for your personal needs. No, it's really, you can go to the so-called alterelés, what's the word? Alteration. So most of the time the court sentence gonna be, okay, you have to go to the psychologist and just speak with your personal problems. But if you run a business on drugs, that's definitely a different story, because you ruin so many people's lives. So that's the principle behind the regulation. So the second one is the subject of the attack is not the intellectual property law. Example, stolen NFTs or somehow the fraudulent activity. So civil sanctions, what you can require from the court or the perpetrator if you find out that somebody using your NFT for some reason. First of all, you have to, if you notice that somebody misuse your NFT without your permission or any other way, you can ask him or her that stop it and just be in peace. But if it hasn't worked properly and you failed, you can require judicial funding that the infringement has been committed, request a stop and ban of the perpetrator from the infringement, recompensation, and providing publicity for the repentance. That's an important thing, because if you feel yourself that you've been ashamed and your goodwill being injured, definitely you have to consider that asking for the publicity, for the repentance, like you see in the news, things like there is section on the news that, okay, I admit that I used this one without any permission. It's kind of, please forgive me. So it's something like that. Claim restitution for the enrichment obtained. That's we call the loss profit repayment. Require the cessation, that's a legal terms, of the injury situation. Let me translate this one. That's the in integrum restitutio, which means the restoration of the original condition. And finally, probably most of you are interested the compensation, pay the damage that they caused, called Hungarian kártérítés, and compensation for the injury of the civil rights. That's two different categories what you can request. Damage caused, pay the damage caused, and pay the injury of the civil rights, sérelmdíj. Okay. Tax evasion and money laundering are serious problems nowadays, according to the Google Trends data that indicates that the NFT is so popular, almost so popular than back in the days was the ICOs in 2017. NFT is nothing special from the tax evasion or from the money laundering perspective, because NFT carry money laundering risk, just like a traditional high-value art, because high-value arts was and been right now the subject of the money laundering right now. You know probably that sculptures, valuable jewelries and whatsoever could be the topic of the money laundering, or you can go to the casino and try to laundering your money using the casino services. So it's nothing really particular or different from the real world high value art, let me call it fine art or something like this. So there is one serious things that the blockchain allowed to trace the transaction between wallets. We call this pseudonymic or pseudom, but without the KYC of the wallet holder, you can from the legal perspective commit a crime of money laundering, because money laundering, and that's the main thing, could be committed with a direct will and the indirect will as well. So you can be a participant of this crime without your will, just to be neglected. I say another example. One of my, let me say, called client, a 21-year-old guy, just get a request from his friend that is it possible to receive some money, 31 million Hungarian forint, and transfer to Spain to this address. And he asked his friend that, is it okay, everything with the money, is it legal? Yes, everything is fine, cool, okay, I will did it. He did it. He did it, and right now he's sentenced in front of the court because of his neglected behavior, some kind of possibility of the punishment. I work for him, and I try to avoid him from the sentence, but still the prosecutor accused him with this neglected money laundering. So that's the.
Is that NFTs or money?
No. My example was the money, the fiat money. Yes, but the analog is or the similarity that if somebody asks you to send or receive a high value NFT and you do it for your friend, for example a Bored Ape yacht or something, and you did it without receiving from any... Yes, that you, I'm not saying you will, but you could, facing in front of the judge.
Why don't they prosecute the
They will go after anybody. So if definitely, and because let me explain what happened in my case in the real life. We've been at the court, and the judge asked my client that what happened, and that was the big surprise, because the guy told like, oh, I was just how do you say, like I was just a tool for the transaction. I did it, but not for myself. I did it for somebody else, and right now they are after that somebody else. They try to cite to the court or invite him to the court, but unfortunately he's in Germany.
Was he earning any money from this
That's sorry, nope, and that's gonna be on his side, and that's my strategy of his defense, exactly, that he was neglected. Yes, we admit this one, but we haven't received any benefit from it, so therefore there is no consumption. We are not gangsters, we are not a criminal, we just, sorry for saying, that's what I try to show in front of the court. We are just stupid young guy, and that's happened. Shit happens all the time. So tax evasion and money laundering part 2. The US Financial Crimes Enforcement Network called emerging digital art market present immense threat for potential, that's the word, main word, potential money laundering. I'm not saying everybody is dealing with the NFT will do this, but there is a high possibility, probability, whatever, or a potential that you can commit a crime regarding with this. There is the definition from the FITF for the money laundering. The definition is the process of disguising the proceeds of crime and moving value through the use of trade transaction in attempt to legitimize their illicit origins. Sorry for that, I don't know this definition by my heart, so I'm reading from the slide as well, because I'm not that kind of person. All right, back to the lack of regulation problem. As I mentioned before, there is 2 directives what are related to the issue of the copyright. The first one is the directive, you see the number, let me call it copyright directive for own copyright in digital single market. It's an interesting thing, because they try to make the online space much more flourish, and they focus on the online share, content share providers for this reason, and they give the right for to the this kind of providers to upload with items loaded with copyright issues. But there is one hack about this one, that the second paragraph of the article sets out an exhaustive list of the providers or service providers, sorry, which is excluded from the directive and therefore do not fall within the scope of Article 17. And if you see the excluded services, non-profit online encyclopedias, non-profit educational and scientific databases, platforms for developing and sharing open source programs. So, platform for developing and sharing open source computer programs. If you consider this one, you can put the blockchain system somehow to this category, because it's open source, and probably the second one, the online marketplace, could be an NFT marketplace as well. So that's the exclusion. So the question, can we call Ethereum or any other blockchain an online content sharing service provider or not? Because if we can, online content sharing service provider, that we've got property rights from this directive. If we are not able to call Ethereum or any other blockchain, then we wrecked or the. Sorry?
A marketplace is never liable for anything that goes on.
No, it's not true, to be honest with you, because if the law always examines the state of mind that you could know, or you've got the possibility to know that you're dealing with stolen arts or something like that, and if you did it with intention, or at least you've been neglected to miss to the examination that it could be stolen or not, that you will be chargeable for this one. Regulatory uncertainties. There is another directive for the crypto assets markets that we call the MICA, and it's a really interesting one, because I checked that direction. As I mentioned before, I haven't found the exact word NFT. Let me guess the audience. How do they call the NFTs? Was that proposal or? Yes, actually not digital asset, crypto asset. So there is no the exact, and I think it's a big misfortune or a big problem, because if we want to base businesses on NFTs, first we have to make definitions in the legal field. So without definitions, how can we regulate anything if we don't call properly?
How would you call it if not the crypto asset?
If they're gonna pay me, I'm gonna figure it out. But until that point, you know, my brain capacity is for the client. So actually, I've been asked once, to be honest with you, I've been asked to make a proposal for the regulation of the Hungarian government by a guy. I don't want to call his name, but he told me that, Charlie, you need to do this for the fame and for non-profit. And I told to him that, big fuck off for the non-profit. I'm gonna do it for the profit, definitely. I'm not let you to be in the light of the success when finally it could be succeed, and did it for non-profit. It doesn't make any sense. So if you want to my work, pay for it, and it's fair, definitely. So for the blame, for the fame, I didn't do that. So that's the definition of the MICA regulation, and this is a guess. With your consideration, NFT, which category could you put in? Which is NFT? Because these are the definitions. Which one? Yes, but that's the reason why we have to be more specific. We have to call the names on their proper names. I mean, without that. So for me, this kind of tokenization or definition of the token is I'm not saying unacceptable, but at least something is lacking from it. So is.
Years ago.
Yes. It's not done and dusted, because as you heard about before, there was a proposal to ban Bitcoin or any other kind of blockchain who use proof of work, and finally they just rejected the proposal. Probably some good eye lawyer or bureaucrats going to put to the idea that, okay, probably we can make a definition for the NFTs, because as far as I know, as far as it is, I haven't found proper definition for the NFTs. None of them. Distributed ledger technology, all right. Crypto asset reference token, electronic money token, no. Yes.
These are the definitions that we have stated in the regulation.
Yes.
So by the looks of it, it looks like duck typing, actually, in programming terms. So it just depends what you can do with it, not what.
That's a problem that I think previously there was a occupation called codification. Codification means that you have to specify the proper names of the things in the real life. But this codification doesn't work anymore for some reason. I don't know why. But in my opinion, the lawmakers, especially the representative of the parliament and the attorneys should cooperate with the code writer, because without that, as I mentioned, we are privileged or you guys, I'm not sorry for that, to write and read codes, but some people or most people is not. So without the understanding what we're talking about in technical terms, how can a lawyer or a codificator make a proper definition for the things? It's really hard. The programmer should sit down nearby a lawyer, a serious lawyer, not like me, a more serious one, and work on it. That's the only way that, because lawmaking and the legal field speaking a completely different language as the code writing, and which is I don't mind, sorry. Yep. What's moving faster than the regulation? Yes, exactly. The law is always in delay. The law is always in delay, but the main thing, do you want to abolish this delay or stop this delay, or you want just travel with the consequences of the industry? If you want, there is a saying, if you can't stop it, you have to step in front of the movement. So that's what should do the law, that step in front of the movement and delegating lawyers to the information and technological field. And I have to work with Steven and Dave and you guys, so it's just the example, but the lawyer should cooperate with the code writer and issuer. Utility token is the fourth definition, which missed from the previous slide. I find that definition is not proper for the NFT as well. So I haven't found the exact word in NFT in the draft regulation. So after that, it's one question come to my mind, that what kind of copyright protection can be counted if they didn't specify the meaning of the NFT. How about the royalties? Probably the most interesting part, most of you guys, the money question. The main question I mentioned before, I'm not going to cite again. Yes, if it's not coming, if the provider, the license provider or user agreement, the user does not generate revenue from the use, and the use does not indirectly serve the purpose of the generating income, probably there is no room for royalties, because that's a personal usage. There is no money in it, so who cares, to be honest with you. If you want to receive royalties after your artwork or creation, you must specify this copyright in a user agreement or license. So Dave, please pay attention for this one, because if your NFT is going to be famous, you should specify in writings that you are entitled as a license holder for this one, but you are not entitled for that one, and so on and so on. So you have to be specified. You can give you two main types of rights for the usage in the license or user agreement. One is the exclusive one, second one is the non-exclusive. Exclusive is nothing else that the author may not grant any further license for himself, including himself, the use of his or her work, and the non-exclusive means that the author grant permission for certain use cases or for certain people. The license may be limited to an area, a period of time, a method of use, and a certain amount of use. Let me explain my example, because Steve just asked me about my NFTs. I got NFTs with the picture of the Hungarian Prime Minister Orbán Viktor. I bought them from the I think they say unliberal arts. I think that's unliberal arts. Unliberal arts. It's a funny name. And I wondered for a while that I will use as a t-shirts for commercial purposes, because probably the public will accept it, and probably they're gonna find it hilarious or funny. But later on, I just realized that I play with the fire, because this is a commercial, not the political. Yes, the that's one part of. Sorry for that. It's a Hungarian. Understanding between the Hungarians. So I play with fires, because if it's gonna be successful, and let me say I put to the polo making website, I don't know the name, and it's gonna be popular, that means that I receive some revenues from that one, and I'm gonna be chargeable or be faced with some sentences. So I decide myself that no, what I'm gonna do, making only 6 copies for personal use of myself and my friends, and then nobody can let me say fuck with me, or try to Bitcoin that the money that you can fuck with, that's the reason. So yes.
So is it okay to put the user agreement into the smart contract, or is it enough or not?
that's the later part of the presentation. Yes, it could be put the user agreement into the so-called smart contracts, but without the knowledge about the property rights, that will probably contain that will miss some parts of the property rights, because probably you have to think complex area, period of time, method of use, certain amount of use. So you have to consider all of them. These are just examples that, because later on there going to be somebody who will use with a certain purpose that does not require does not meet your requirements for some reason, for example using for some political events or that kind of events that you don't want to see regarding to your NFTs. So yes, it's possible, and that's the way of the future, but you have to be cautious with the issue. Or license.
I signed with my wallet, which is actually pseudonym.
That's yes. The whole enforcement, the behind the whole presentation, there is a big serious question about the enforcement, because digital world is not like the analog. It's really hard to enforce somebody if you don't know who is it in the real life. And this pseudonym or anonym systems, let me say Monero or whatever, hide the user data or the user personality behind the curtain. So yes, the enforceability is always a big question, because as far as I know, the Hungarian body of the enforcementers did not know the word cryptocurrency. They are not dealing with it. We're talking about the MBVK, the main body of the Hungarian enforcement. They are not making presentation about the cryptocurrencies. They're not making presentation about the NFTs. Probably if you go to office of the bailiff and you ask him politely and pay the price, because definitely you have to pay the price, all of his or her action, that please enforce somehow, they're gonna just wave their shoulders or just say like, I don't know how to do that, I don't know how to enforce that. So there is a discrepancy between the analog and the digital world.
Maybe in 100 years we will have
much less.
which are compatible with
I guess that's my guess, that it's will last much less time. Probably, I don't know, 15, 25 years. As far as I see, my occupation gonna be vanish. I mean, the attorney as a middleman gonna be vanish in 25 years. So I've got probably 25 years in this field, and after that, all the codes and all the smart contract will be intelligent enough to consider of the problems and the samples from the contracts. Because if you put the samples, I think the IBM got this legal AI, I don't know what's its name, but he can make a good decision after the samples. If you put the samples of the sentence from the court, and that's it. It's all about the learning process. All right, there is an probably interesting part for you guys. I don't want to exceed the time, but you can imagine it's come from the szerzői jogi. So the main body of the property rights in Hungary. It's examples of the royalty rates in Hungary. Sound recording, you can find that if you use the sound record 1 to 10, after 11 and up to 1000, you've got the royalties like this. And imagine after the NFTs, the same one in your pocket. So it would be a great thing for you. What does the anti-money laundering say? Nothing? No, I can say from their sheet, so it's not necessary if you don't want, because I've got my sheets for security reason.
Okay.
All right.
It's okay.
But it's ugly.
So we've got the directive we called sorry for that. The AMLD directive, the sixth one is the current one, and finally we've got some definition from the crypto part. There's a definition for the virtual asset service provider and a virtual asset. The definition, sorry, I don't know. The AML Act defines the term of virtual asset. That's what's an NFT. Digital representation of value that can be digitally traded or transferred and can be used for payment or investment purposes, but does not include digital representation of fiat currencies, securities, or other financial assets. And if you see this one, then what you will call the so-called CBDC. It's that means that CBDC is not a virtual asset or what, but this is the definition. I think there is a hidden agenda from the governments to just run this CBDC project as soon as it's possible, but that's my private.
They will say that crypto is like normal cryptos are ways to launder the money pretty much. That's why, because you said that they went through CBDC, and it's true.
I think that's the agenda.
Cryptos, they are money laundering virtual asset. So you can only use CBDC. That's the only correct.
Yeah, that's the plan. But the threat with the CBDC that you would be monitored by the authorities, because if this is like a centralized something. If I give you my money to you on the blockchain, which I invented, definitely I can monitorize you and I can check your habits, what kind of items, services are you buying. So that's a great surveillance. It could be a great surveillance equipment in the hand of the governments.
Well, China doesn't.
Yes, China. Yes, but the Chinese mentality. I'm not Chinese expertise, but once I spoken with one, and the guy told me that Chinese people is completely different mindset. We are we here in the Western, let me call. It's always a big question as the Hungarian election. Which one is more important for you, safety or the freedom? Because they are opposite each other, and you can decide which one is at some point. So many people decide like safety, definitely safety. My stomach has to be fulfilled and food with meals, and after that, like the Maslow pyramid, you know. So that's true. If you see for example, for the election, that's not. I don't want to be political, but I think that's the main reason, because for this Hungarian election, the value proposition from the governments was like, I keep you safe and sound. I keep you safe and sound. The other part, I don't want to making a political discussion, but the other part was like, if you put elect them, there is uncertainties with them. That was the main value proposition for the electors. You heard before the Financial Action Task Force, FATF. It's an international standard setter for the AML controls, and they define as well the virtual assets and virtual asset services. Service providers, a virtual asset must be digital, have inherent value, be capable of being traded or transferred, and be used for payment or investment purposes. Definition of virtual asset. I missed it because I don't want to use your time, but one last word from my presentation, that NFT could fall within the definition of virtual asset, then generally a person will fall within a definition of VASP when providing one or more, but one is enough, of the following services: exchange between virtual assets and fiat currencies. And NFT is a virtual asset, as we saw before. Exchange between one or more forms of virtual assets. Transfer of virtual assets from one virtual asset address or account to another. A custodian wallet provider. Participation in and provision of financial services related to an issuer's offer or sale of virtual asset, or both. Thank you for your attention. Hopefully it was so boring and make you feel bad. And right now I'm waiting for the question, but let me say I'm not expertise, I'm just interested in the field. So I'm not able to answer all questions, and I'm not going to give you the holy grail. So or we can go to drink up if you want. So I don't want to lose your time.
You can't be an expert on something which is not existing.
Exactly. But I try to get the knowledge as much as I could.
Supposing that the NFT market will be overhyped and it's gonna collapse in a year, what would we expect as a lawyer? Would we expect like many cases, or is it just not what we do?
To be honest with you, from my personal practice as an attorney, most of the times I dealing with cryptocurrencies issues, and less of the time I dealing with NFTs. So NFT is the minority right now in my practice, but I can tell from my practice only. So probably it depends on the youth. It depends on the young people, because if they want to make it significant, they're gonna make it significant. But I'm how they say, what's the right for that for the old person nowadays? Boomer. Yes, I'm a boomer. Yes, exactly. So I'm a boomer. I'm out of the play. I'm out of the field. I'm just observing the things. I'm not participating because I bought these NFTs, but that's it. So I don't think. But my clients, the clientele, some of them is just earning serious money. I'm not saying I'm envy of them, but at least I'm considering that I'm a boomer fuck, and I'm too shy to do these DIX things and the NFT things and that kind of things. And yes, that's true. From my practice, 20 years old was the the best, who came to my lawyer office, sorry, and just ask a consultation about how to get 1.2 million dollar from the Binance to Hungary to his bank account, because he want to avoid all the problems with the banks, with the financial and terrorism. Yes, 26 years old. That's nice. Yes, and we did it. So we did, but that I mean. There is practice, yeah, and he paid the tax. Yeah. Because always asking, is this money coming from an illicit activity or a crime? Because in that case, I'm not able to help you. I'm not gonna report you, but you got a free way from my office. I'm not dealing. No, that's true, because in the money laundering there is a difference between detecting the money laundering. The banks are a good example for this one. They detecting most of the times so many money laundering attempts, but they're not gonna make a problem for themselves. They are not reporting. That's the trick. What they are doing, they just try to figure out the word that they just the contract, they make the contract invalid. How do you say this one? Revoke, kind of revoke. There is a terms of condition, and there is a point that for any purposes the bank is entitled to get lost you or sorry?
Deny service.
Deny service, that's the word, that's a better word. Deny services, and if the bank says to you that they denied or suspended their services, 99% of the issues, there is a certainty that there is money laundering. But they're not reporting. They say, I'm not going to deal with you, I'm not going to take any business, and I'm not going to tell you why, but you are not allowed to, you are not welcome anymore.
So they shut the account?
Exactly, freeze and shut the account, and so many times if there is just an attempt, they're not reporting. They're not gonna, some of course, so many times they're reporting, but most of the time they just saying like, we're not reporting, we're not gonna make trouble for ourselves.
You lose the money, or you transfer the money somewhere?
Sorry?
You lose the money, like they freeze the money?
You lose forever. I tried this from the practice, frozen account. a serious amount of money, never received nothing.
They are
Never
taking the
received.
money,
They told this is a bank secrecy because of the Bank Secrecy Act, because of the they sorry, they didn't say the word that money laundering purposes, but I could figure it out that that's and end of story. Even though I'm an attorney, so they say like, all right,
owner of the bank can spend your money.
I don't know what they.
You're trying to steal them.
Good luck. I did not accept that case against the bank, and because of this Bank Secrecy Act. So again, the question on it was.
What is the official way to make money?
Keep all the rules. All the rules. You can make tons of first make a user agreement or a license. Keep all the rules, especially if you've got if you run serious business on NFTs. I'm pretty sure that OpenSea and Raribility, or I don't know how they called, hire lawyers to protect their ass. I'm pretty sure that they keep all the rules they can. So I'm pretty sure.
You can also hodl your NFT until there's no around it.
So forever.
Yes.
So my suggestion is let's start the drink up. If you don't mind, guys, thank you.